All right, we are recording. So this is a 2 hour-ish workshop. It might go a little bit longer. I feel like I won't go a little under because me and Tabitha have a lot that we want to share. And we both are really passionate about this subject. We've had a lot of fun creating and masterminding around this and having a long conversations about, what value do we want to deliver on this workshop? What do these women need? What questions might they have? What do we need to explain? Because to me, even explaining it sounds almost abstract, right? Like something as basic as posture is very straightforward and it's very practical, right? Like people know what posture is, but something about, sex energy and body armoring and sexual shame, we don't dive into that as much and it's not talked about enough. So one, I really appreciate you guys coming on and being open-minded. And two, I really hope you actually apply and think about what we're telling you, because we're going to be talking about a lot of theory today, but it's really important that you don't only just listen and understand, but actually apply what we're saying and pay attention to how you're really showing up in your life. Don't just absorb, but actually take action. That's what we're hoping. So I'm going to introduce myself, as you guys know me here on the call right now. For anybody else listening to the recording, my name is Jess Mather. I'm a strength and rehab professional. I've been playing in this world for about 8 years now, and I specialize in movement and rehab. But I also really enjoy diving into the other things about body shame, body love, helping women feel more empowered and strong in their bodies and more comfortable in their bodies. So I'm going to throw the mic over to Tabitha to have her introduce herself.
Yay! I'm Tabitha. I am a primal pleasure coach, and I help women get in touch with their primal pleasure side, the power of their pussies. And it's really fun. Jackie's like, what? So this is really understanding sex energy and how it actually moves through their body and why our vagina is our source of our greatest power and our greatest pleasure, and unfortunately our greatest pain if we don't understand it, know how to connect with it, and know how to use it as our greatest life tool, not just a pleasure toy. So I started on this journey. If it were a self journey, it would have been when I was 16. I think I picked up the first book Mama Gina ever published, The School of Womanly Arts. And that's really where it started for me. But it's continued to evolve as a professional practice for over 12 years, starting with energy medicine, body work, somatic therapy, coaching, tantra, all kinds of fun elements that have given me a really deep and wide toolbox to pull from. And it turns me on in so many ways every day. I won't go much into my story because that could take a long, but to sum it up really, really shortly, my own pain is what brought me to where I am. And I made myself the promise as a shutdown, full of pain 19-year-old who had no libido, no ability to have a healthy relationship and anything else, that continued into a much longer pattern. But I made myself the promise that I wouldn't allow another woman to experience what I went through if I could help it. So that's what brings me to where I am today.
That's awesome. I love that story. And I think that's why a lot of coaches and healers have got into this, is like, we don't want other people to experience the pain, anguish, or struggle that we've experienced. We want it to make it easy and guide somebody else in that process, because we know how bad it sucks otherwise.
Totally.
Hi, Sheila. Some other people, by the way, people watching the recording, people will pop in as the recording goes on. So awesome. We've got a few more people coming in. Awesome. So you guys can also shut off your videos if you don't feel comfortable. You guys can mute yourselves because I'm recording. Hi, Anne. So you guys can shut off your videos or shut off your mics if you don't feel comfortable being there. So we're going to jump in about a couple bullet points that we're going to go over. I'm going to cover a couple, Tab's going to cover a couple, and you guys are welcome to raise your hand or unmute yourself if you have questions on a specific topic. So the first thing we wanted to talk about, and Tabitha's going to elaborate on this one, she's really good at explaining this one, is explaining what sexual energy is, feminine energy and masculine energy, how they show up in our lives, how we might have an imbalance in our lives, and how an imbalance may happen. So Tabitha, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
I think Jess and I are playing with the microphones at the same time. Okay. So I'm going to be honest. I can be a little long-winded when I start talking because I'm so passionate about this. So if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes and my timer. Okay. So sex energy. It's quite simply the life force energy that is all around us. It's the most primal, raw, and foundational energy that creates everything. It's creative potential, and it's also the creative action, that manifestation action that kicks into being. So we have to have both of them, and they have obviously dual aspects. And for those of you who are familiar with the yin and yang concept, there is a light and a dark side, a feminine and a masculine side. You could look at this as the dark and the light side. I think I already said that one. Western mind would see it as logic and emotion. So it's like got all these different facets that come into being, and it also shows up in our bodies and our nervous system. So we literally have a feminine side of our nervous system, which would be the parasympathetic side that governs our immune system. Our rest and renewal side is our digestive system. All of our pleasure centers are activated by this. This is where all of that juicy being magic, those automatic things that our body takes care of, all of this happens from that side, the feminine side of our nervous system. Then we've got the masculine side, which would be our sympathetic, which is that fight, flight, power, action. Everything is going to happen from here. Woo! This is our stress response side. And this is the side that shuts down our immune function. It shuts down our digestion. It shuts down all of our pleasure responses because it takes all of our energy that isn't necessary for actually staying alive, like our heartbeat and our muscle function, and it channels all that energy into being able to fight or flight just to survive. So this is the power of masculine energy. It's very action oriented. But the way we get stuck and the way we start seeing imbalances happen is when we get stuck in one side or the other. So if we get stuck in the feminine side, we can become really sluggish, really heavy, really uninspired. Think of a woman with fibro. She's like always exhausted. She always feels depleted. This would be a heavy imbalance of feminine energy in the body. But then if you think of someone who's hyper functioning, hyper alert, they're everywhere. They have squirrel brain, they have squirrel body. They're just all over the wall and they can't sleep at night. They have insomnia. They have indigestion issues. They're just, this is way too much masculine energy in the body. They're hot, they're sweating all the time. So these are the way they show up in our physical function, but they also have the emotional aspects. And you might think that feminine energy is seen as weak or flimsy or limp-wristed and everything else, because that's what we tend to hear when people are talking about femininity. But it's absolutely not the case. Feminine energy owns intuition. It owns inspiration. It owns the power of emotion. It's got all of that juicy, wonderful magic. And I'm sorry if you hear the dogs. I think my lover just got home and let them in. So this is our ability to be, to feel, to enjoy, to relish life. These would be the emotional, energetic components of femininity. So it's really quite powerful. It's mysterious. It's chaotic. It's seductive. It's sexy. It's magnetic. This is all of that essence that you think of when you see the woman in the Matrix, who has the orgasm when she eats the pie, or Monica Bellucci in the Matrix movie where she's just like, whoa, there's something about her that's got you totally intrigued. Like, this is deep, juicy, sensual feminine magic. And then there's also the light-hearted, loving, happy, go-lucky, juicy, childlike side of femininity. So all of this stuff is just amazing. The masculine side is that go-getter. You're the success-driven woman. You're the woman who's going to make shit happen, make shit accomplished. You're definitely good at setting and holding boundaries, and you're really good at being logical, but you may not be as good about paying attention to feelings. So these are more of the energetic and emotional aspects of masculinity. I'm not going to go too much deeper in those because they're not vital for you to get the most out of this workshop, and it could take me the entire evening to really explain more of it. So I'll leave that at that. So when your imbalances get funky, you can already kind of imagine what's happening in the body. So you can become over emotional and not able to cope and move through dreams, and you shut down because you get overwhelmed by all of the feels. If you have trauma, it gets stuck in the system and you're not able to outlet it. So anything that you've experienced really just gets stuck on repeat, and you're not able to move through it. And this is something that I see happen so much with women around their sensuality and their sexuality. And it's what contributes to our body armoring, our loss of libido, our inability to experience pleasure, passion, to know what to do with our emotions, and to not become this ball-busting bitch who doesn't know how to access her softer qualities, but also not be this total pushover who doesn't have a backbone. So that's what happens when everything gets wonky. Check with my notes here and my timer. I'm good. So thriving versus surviving is a really important part of understanding how to move through this. So when we get stuck in survival mode, when we shut down our femininity because we don't know what to do with it or we don't trust it anymore, we feel like it's something that's made us susceptible to violation or abuse or something else, then we totally suppress that and we become a survivor. And the same thing happens when we get too masculine minded and we're like, no, nobody's going to hurt me. Nobody's going to be able to touch me. I'm vulnerable to no one because fuck that noise. Mm-hmm. Then we're definitely going to become over armored. And it's kind of the difference between being this leaf in the wind that is just at the mercy of everybody and everything around you, or this impenetrable castle and moat where nothing's gonna fucking touch you. And sometimes we need to seek those places of shutdown and invisibility and intimidation and armoring just to survive. Like, that's what this is there for. It is definitely a coping mechanism, but we can't stay here. We cannot make this our everyday form and function and our reality for life. So how do we move through this? This is where it gets sexy. Sex energy. You learn how to feel